Rejection is the reset you needed. Have you ever had a door slam so hard in your face that it rattled your confidence? Maybe it was a person walking away, an opportunity vanishing, a message left unread. It hurt deeply. But now, imagine this. What if that rejection wasn't the end, but the beginning? What if the pain that tried to break you was actually a hand, redirecting you to a better path? Today, we step into that moment, the one that felt like defeat and flip it. Inspired by the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, we're diving into the art of using rejection, not as a scar, but as strategy. Because when a Stoic hears no, he doesn't shrink, he sharpens. He doesn't chase, he redirects. He doesn't crumble, he recalibrates. You see, rejection isn't a curse, it's a mirror. It reveals where your identity is too tied to outcome. It's a test will you beg for validation or build your value. In a world addicted to approval, the one who learns to turn rejection into resilience becomes unstoppable. So if you're feeling ignored, dismissed, cast aside good. That means you're on the edge of power. This episode isn't about feeling better, it's about getting better. We're unpacking 13 Stoic strategies to transform rejection into momentum. These aren't fluffy ideas, they're practical, tactical, forged from pain, and ready for action. Before we begin, do something that helps this message reach others who need it. Hit like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell. Because today, you stop waiting for doors to open and start building your own. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Ignore them too. So the world turned its back on you. The texts go unanswered. Your effort goes unnoticed. The silence is deafening and it stings. But here's the first Stoic truth you need to absorb. You don't chase those who devalue you. You ignore them too. Not to play a game, but to take back your power. When someone decides you're not worth their attention, don't argue, don't plead, don't try to prove your worth. That's not strength, that's surrender. Instead, you rise. You mirror their silence with self-respect. You say more in your calm indifference than 1,000 emotional outbursts ever could. Because here's the reality. If someone can ignore your presence, they were never ready for your depth. And when you stop reacting, stop feeding the loop, you disrupt their control. You become something they can't predict, and that unsettles them far more than your attention ever could. But don't confuse indifference with bitterness. You're not turning cold, you're turning inward. You're not punishing them, you're protecting yourself. And how do you do that? You pour your energy into what builds you, into your craft, your discipline, your passions. You lift weights, you sharpen your mind. You grow so quietly that when they look back, you're unrecognizable because you chased them, but because you outgrew them. This isn't about ignoring to get a reaction. It's about building a life so rich, so grounded, that their absence feels like nothing, that their silence feels like peace. Remember this. Those who overlook your presence today will regret your absence tomorrow, but only if you stop waiting for validation and start walking your own path. So the next time someone ignores you, smile. Because now you know what to do. Ignore them too and keep building. Chapter 2. Don't react emotionally. So they pulled away. Gave you the cold shoulder. Left your message on read. You feel it rising, the frustration, the self-doubt, the sting of being dismissed. But here's the moment that separates a man from a boy. Do you lash out? Or do you stay rooted? A Stoic chooses the second. Because emotional control is not weakness, it's power. See, the first instinct after rejection is to react, to text back with sarcasm, to rant to a friend, to spiral into overthinking. But that's not strength. That's surrendering your peace to someone else's behavior. That's letting them dictate how you feel. And when you do that, you lose twice, once to the rejection and again to the emotional chaos that follows. Marcus Aurelius didn't teach us to become numb. He taught us to become sovereign. And sovereignty begins when you learn to pause. When someone ignores you, don't jump to conclusions. Don't assume their silence means something about you, because it doesn't. It speaks more about their state of mind than your worth. Take a breath. Seriously stop, inhale, exhale, and then ask yourself, is this situation really worth my peace? Most of the time, the answer is no. Stoicism invites us to zoom out, to see that moment not as a personal attack, but as a blip on the radar of a much larger life, a life that you are in control of, a life that is not built on how others treat you, but on how you respond calmly, with dignity, and on your terms. So what do you do instead of reacting? You hold the line, you stay polite, you keep your tone steady. If you choose to reach out again, you do it from a place of clarity, not desperation. If you walk away, you do it with your head high, not with bitterness. This is not passivity. This is precision. Because here's the truth. Nothing commands respect more than a man who cannot be provoked, who refuses to be dragged into emotional drama, who owns his reactions fully. That's not just self-mastery. That's power. So the next time rejection knocks, don't fight it. Don't dramatize it. Let it pass through you like wind. And while others spiral in emotion, you remain still, sharp, sovereign. That's how Stoics move. Chapter 3. Remove them from your mind. So they said no. Or worse, they said nothing. And now your thoughts keep looping back to them, replaying moments, rereading messages, wondering what went wrong. But here's the truth. Every second you spend thinking about someone who's not thinking about you is a second you steal from your own future. This isn't just about moving on. It's about reclaiming your mental real estate. Because the more you dwell, the more you build a shrine to rejection in your mind. And that shrine grows into obsession, fueling insecurity, clouding your clarity, robbing you of peace. But the Stoic way is different. It says, remove them, not out of anger, not to punish them, but to free yourself. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The rejection? That's the outside event. But the ruminating, the fixation, the mental replay, that's your doing. And it's within your control. So how do you stop feeding that loop? You start by turning that mental energy inward, into discipline, into progress. You train your focus like a warrior trains his sword not to wound, but to cut through distraction. Instead of replaying what they said or didn't say, replay your goals, replay your standards, replay your vision of who you're becoming. And when the thoughts return, and they will, you don't resist them with force. You redirect them with purpose. Like a skilled sailor facing heavy winds, you don't panic. You adjust the sails. You let the current push you, not pull you under. Read books that stretch you. Lift weights that humble you. Create something that didn't exist yesterday. These aren't just tasks. They're tools. They're anchors that keep your mind from drifting into emotional fog. Rejection isn't the end. It's the clearing, the pruning, the storm that makes space for new growth. And the moment you stop giving someone free rent in your mind is the moment you reclaim your power. You don't forget them out of spite. You remove them out of self-respect. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. And when they cross your mind again, you'll feel it differently, not as loss, but as distance, a space you needed in order to grow. This is the Stoic way. To detach not from feeling, but from fixation. To let go because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring enough about yourself. Chapter 4. Demonstrate your value. Rejection hurts. We all know that. It bruises the ego, dents our pride, and if we're not careful, it makes us question our worth. But what if that sting is actually a signal? Not to retreat, but to rise. What if rejection is not a verdict, but an invitation? An invitation to demonstrate, not declare your value. This isn't about proving something to others. It's about reaffirming something to yourself. Because when someone overlooks you, whether it's a woman who ghosts you, a boss who passes you over, or a group that acts like you're invisible, it's tempting to spiral, to feel small, to internalize that silence as a sign that maybe you're not good enough. But here's the truth. Their ignorance is not your identity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's the blueprint. So you got sidelined at work? Don't stew. Step up. Take on the project no one wants. Lead the meeting no one's prepared for. Build something. Solve some things. Serve someone. Not to impress, but to express. To express your inner standards, your work ethic, your ability to deliver under pressure without needing applause. Your value isn't something to beg for, it's something you embody. The Stoics believed in virtue as action, not talk. So when rejection comes, don't waste energy writing mental arguments of why they were wrong. Use that energy to write a better chapter of your own story. Redirect the fire inward, into mastery, into focus, into momentum. Rejection isn't a dead end. It's often a directional sign, one that says, not here, but there. And if you slow down, detach your emotions, and look clear, you'll see it. That closed door, it's forcing you to knock somewhere better, somewhere more aligned with who you really are. Now, let's be practical. You didn't get the promotion. Okay. What skills were you lacking? Fix it. Take the certification. Mentor others. Turn yourself into someone so undeniably effective that silence can't survive in your presence. Your results will speak. Or maybe you got ghosted. Fine. Go hit the gym not to get revenge but to rebuild discipline. Start that business not to post about it, but to prove to yourself that your time and energy were always meant for creation, not validation. And here's where it gets powerful. When you move this way, rejection stops being personal. It becomes fuel. Every no becomes part of your training. Every brush off becomes a brick in the foundation of your excellence. And over time, you won't just bounce back. You'll level up. Because demonstrating your value isn't about loud declarations or dramatic comebacks. It's about quiet consistency. It's about the man who shows up regardless of who's watching, who leads with principle regardless of who's clapping. And yes, sometimes that means forgiving those who overlooked you. Not because they deserve it, but because you've grown beyond the need to carry bitterness. As Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. So the next time rejection knocks, answer it with calm, with clarity, with action. You don't need to convince them. You just need to become undeniable. Chapter 5. Cut off contact. There's a moment after rejection where the silence gets loud, where your mind wants answers, your pride wants closure, and your heart wants just one more message to make sense of it all. But what if I told you that silence isn't the absence of power? It is the power. Because there comes a time when cutting off contact isn't an act of anger, it's an act of self-respect. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Epictetus once said, "If someone does not value you, let them go. Why would you accept chains from someone who doesn't even know your worth? Silence, in this sense, isn't passive. It's active. It's strategic. It's the calm, quiet assertion of a man who no longer begs for attention. Let's be real. When someone ghosts you, ignores you, dismisses you, your first instinct might be to reach out, to fix it, to prove you're worth a response. But every call you make, every text you send to someone who has already withdrawn, you're not reconnecting. You're negotiating with your dignity. This is where you flip the script. You don't chase. You don't explain. You don't try to force clarity from someone who's already shown you confusion. You let the silence do the talking. And in that space, something rare happens. You begin to hear yourself again. You recalibrate. Cutting off contact isn't just about removing them. It's about reclaiming you, your focus, your emotional energy, your center. It's about creating space so you can rebuild without noise. And no, it's not cruel. It's clear. You're not punishing them. You're protecting yourself. Think of it like this. Every time you reach out to someone who isn't reaching back, you shrink. You reinforce the idea that your worth is negotiable. But when you stop, when you draw that quiet line, you send a very different message, not to them, but to yourself. You say, I am no longer available for confusion. I don't participate in cycles that drain me. I don't explain my value. I embody it. This kind of silence is rare. It doesn't beg. It doesn't perform. It doesn't hope. It decides. And yes, it may feel uncomfortable at first, especially in a world obsessed with instant responses, endless notifications, and the fear of being left unseen. But here's the twist. The longer you sit in that silence, the stronger you become. The more you resist the urge to break it, the more control you regain. And don't be surprised when your absence begins to echo louder than any words ever could. Because when a man stops chasing, when he reclaims his time, his peace, his focus becomes dangerous. Not reckless, not vengeful, grounded. That's the kind of energy that shifts rooms. That's the kind of silence that commands respect. And here's the best part. Even if they never respond, even if they never return, you've already won. Because the victory isn't in getting them back, it's in getting yourself back. So the next time you're tempted to reach out, to ask why, to seek closure, pause, breathe, and choose silence. Not to hurt them, but to heal you. Chapter 6. Prove them wrong. In a world that expects you to fold under pressure, the most powerful response is not a reaction. It's reinvention. The Stoic doesn't argue. He doesn't plead. He doesn't make declarations of revenge. He simply becomes undeniable. That's the heart of proving them wrong, not through noise, not through ego, but through mastery. Someone rejected you? Good. Someone doubted your potential, mocked your ambition, underestimated your discipline? Perfect. Now you have fuel, but not the kind that burns fast and loud. The kind that turns into relentless drive, quiet, focused, unstoppable. Stoicism teaches us that control begins with our response. So when they cast doubt, you don't chase their validation. You don't argue to prove your worth. You return to your workbench, your craft, your calling. You sharpen your mind. You train your body. You refine your character. And, most importantly, you outgrow their version of you. This isn't about creating a spectacle. You don't need a mic drop moment. You don't need to show them what they missed. You need to show you what you're capable of. And that shift from seeking revenge to seeking mastery is where true power is born. Picture this. They said you'd never make it in a creative field, so you stay up late, learning, building, creating. And one day, quietly, your work speaks volumes, not for applause, but because it's excellent. And excellence needs no introduction. They said you lack discipline. So instead of arguing, you rise early, train harder, focus longer, until your routine becomes unshakable. Until your presence alone makes people sit up straighter, not because you're loud, but because you're centered. They said you were replaceable, so you leveled up until no one could match your integrity, your standards, your reliability. You became the kind of man who doesn't just perform, he leads. Quietly, consistently, stoically. That's the transformation. Not from weak to strong, but from dependent to independent. From reactive to resolute. Marcus Aurelius never sought to prove himself to his critics. He ruled with virtue, with clarity, with action. And that's what you do now. You build such a solid foundation of competence, self-respect, and internal validation that even if no one claps, you still win. You no longer need them to see your worth because you've seen it yourself. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to prove them wrong, that's when you do. Because now your effort is no longer driven by emotion, it's driven by vision. And nothing is more powerful than a man with vision. So when someone says you're not enough, don't flinch. Don't fight back. Just smile. Return to your path and say silently, "Watch me." But never for their approval. Do it to become the kind of man you admire. That's the real victory. Chapter 7. Go out and have fun. Let's be clear. Rejection hurts. It stings. It bruises the ego and tempts you to retreat, to shut the door, to shrink. But here's the Stoic way. Don't shrink. Expand. When life says no, don't go silent, go live. Because joy, believe it or not, is not a luxury. It's a strategy. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering it. And when you've been knocked down, one of the most powerful, rebellious things you can do is to rise and smile. To go out into the world with light in your eyes and say, "I'm still here. I still choose life." Rejection wants you to hide. So, you do the opposite. You walk toward joy, deliberately, even if your heart's still aching. You step outside, you meet people, you say yes to things you normally wouldn't. You live. This isn't distraction. This is defiance. It's a conscious decision to engage with life not because you feel perfect, but because you refuse to let pain dictate your pace. Start simple. Call an old friend, play a sport, pick up that guitar gathering dust, book a weekend hike, join that group class you've been overthinking. Laughter isn't weakness, it's release. It doesn't erase your struggle, but it balances it. And balance, my friend, is what keeps the Stoic standing tall while the world trembles. And when you do these things, not to impress anyone, not to forget the pain, but to own your energy again, you slowly reclaim territory from rejection. You stop living in reaction. You begin creating again. Writing your story forward, one joyful moment at a time. Now, take it further. Step into unfamiliar spaces. Try something new, even if it scares you a little. Book a one-way ticket to a place you've never been. Attend a workshop where you know no one. Taste food you can't pronounce. Why? Because discomfort and joy stretches your identity. It breaks the mental link between pain and paralysis. These small, joyful acts become proof that you're still the author of your life. That rejection didn't win. That it was just a chapter, not the whole book. And don't forget your tribe. Stoics don't walk alone. They choose their circle wisely. People who reflect strength, who hold you accountable, not just to your goals, but to your joy. That's right, your joy deserves accountability too. Make space for conversations that don't revolve around problems. Laugh deeply. Eat well. Be present. Because in the end, the truth is simple. You are not your rejection. You are what you do with it. So do something bold. Do something lighthearted. Do something alive. Go out, have fun, and let the world know you weren't just built to survive rejection. You were built to dance through it, wiser, freer, and more whole than ever before. Chapter 8. Build your social status. Imagine this. You walk into a room and no one notices. You're ignored, overlooked, almost invisible. For most, that would be a hit to the ego. But for a Stoic, it's an opening, a silent invitation. Not to chase attention, but to cultivate power from within. Because your social status isn't something handed to you. It's something you build quietly, strategically, day by day. And the first step? Stop asking to be seen, start becoming someone worth noticing. This isn't about flash or followers or empty applause. It's about presence. About becoming so grounded in who you are, so devoted to your growth, that others naturally take notice, because you demand it, but because you embody it. The Stoics never taught us to seek validation. They taught us to seek virtue. That means pouring your energy into things that sharpen your soul, your discipline, your health, your skills, your contribution. Hit the gym not for a six-pack, but for self-respect. Read not to impress others, but to deepen your mind. Speak not to be loud, but to be clear. These are status markers that can't be bought. They're earned in solitude, in effort, in commitment. And here's the truth. You don't need to be the most charismatic person in the room. You just need to be the most real. When you speak from authenticity, not from performance, you attract others who value depth over drama. And those are the people worth building with. So share your story, not to boast, but to connect. Talk about your journey, your progress, your setbacks. When you speak from a place of truth, you create a space for others to be real too. This isn't networking, it's bonding through shared values, through the kind of honesty the world is starving for. Now take it beyond yourself. Volunteer, mentor, serve, build something that lasts longer than applause. In doing so, you shift from self-promotion to selfless contribution. That's where real social power is born, not from being admired, but from being useful. In Stoicism, your status isn't about rank, it's about virtue and action. It's the man who helps others rise. The man who holds himself to a higher standard even when no one's watching. It's the man who grows not just for himself, but to elevate the room he walks into. So ask yourself, what am I building? Not just for me, but for the people around me. Am I the type of man who inspires others to grow? Or am I still seeking a spotlight that adds nothing to my character? Rejection might have dimmed your confidence, but it also cleared the noise. And in that silence, you're given a choice. Stay small and bitterer. Rise quietly, build deeply, and earn your place. Not through noise, but through nobility. That's how you build real social status. Not with followers, but with foundation. Not with image, but with impact. And when you do that, not only will people notice you, won't even care if they do. Because you'll know who you are. And in the Stoic world, that is the highest form of influence. Chapter 9. Act as if they don't exist. There's a certain power in silence, a strength in restraint. And when someone chooses to ignore you, to pretend you don't exist, the most Stoic thing you can do is return the favor with grace and composure. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about playing games. This is about reclaiming your dignity and preserving your peace. Imagine you're at a social gathering, a party, a work event, a dinner, and there may be someone you used to be close to deliberately avoids you, looks past you, pretends you're not in the room. What do? You don't chase. You don't shrink. You don't beg to be seen. You shift your attention to what matters, to the people who do appreciate your presence. You start a conversation elsewhere, engage in a genuine laugh, and invest your energy into connections that are mutual, not one-sided performances. Because here's a truth that every Stoic knows: your worth is not diminished by someone else's blindness. Their inability to recognize your value says more about them than it ever will about you. In situations where you must interact like work, shared circles, or family, keep it clean, professional, clear, short. Don't bring emotions into what deserves only structure. This isn't coldness. It's composure. You're not avoiding them, you're removing them from the emotional equation. It's not silent treatment. It's strategic indifference. You are signaling not to them, but to yourself, that your peace is sacred, that your energy is reserved for things that elevate, not drain, and that self-respect isn't up for negotiation. Now, if their indifference becomes persistent, if you sense they thrive on withholding attention just to keep you unsettled, here's what you do. You walk away. And you walk away not with spite, but with sovereignty. Not every relationship deserves a confrontation. Some only deserve a quiet exit. One where you don't explain, don't announce, don't dramatize. You just redirect your path. And that, right there, is liberation. Because the Stoic man understands something, the world forgets your attention is currency. Your presence is power. And when you give it to someone who doesn't value it, you're bankrupting your own spirit. So reclaim that attention, reinvest it into your purpose, into your people, into your peace. When you act as if they don't exist, you're not erasing them, you're elevating yourself. You're rising above the noise, the ego games, the emotional turbulence. You're choosing stillness over struggle, grace over groveling, direction over distraction. Let them wonder why you're no longer available, why you no longer flinch at their silence, why your world continues to move with purpose, with energy, with joy. You're not pretending, you're protecting. And that, brother, is Stoic mastery in action. Chapter 10. Give them the silent treatment. There's a silence that screams. A silence that doesn't beg for attention but commands respect. And when someone ignores you, dismisses your presence, belittles your voice, the most powerful answer may be none at all. But let's be clear, this silence isn't revenge. It's not emotional warfare. It's not a trick to make them chase. This silence is stoic, purposeful, grounded. It's a pause that protects your peace. When someone chooses to disregard you, your instinct may want to react, to speak, to explain, to restore connection. But Stoicism teaches us that not every disruption deserves a response. Sometimes, your stillness is your message. It's a message that says, I don't need your attention to validate my worth. Because true silence, Stoic silence, is not passive. It is full of life. It's a space for self-reflection, not self-pity. A place where you don't analyze them, you analyze you. You ask, why did this trigger me? What wound did it touch? What does my reaction say about my own emotional foundation? This kind of inquiry is a gift. It's a mirror, not a mask. It gives you the rare opportunity to strengthen your emotional Pareto, observe your feelings without letting them hijack your behavior. And here's the paradox. By saying nothing, you're actually saying everything. You're telling the world and yourself that you will not be pulled into petty games, that your dignity is not up for negotiation, that your energy is sacred and will not be poured into people who don't value it. This is what Seneca meant by temperance: the ability to hold your emotional fire, to use it for clarity, not combustion. This is what Epictetus called the discipline of assent, choosing not to grant your attention to every impulse, every slight, every whisper of drama. Silence, in this context, becomes sacred. It becomes your shield. Think of it as a boundary, not a barrier. You are not closing yourself off from the world. You are simply refusing to participate in emotional chaos. You are preserving your peace, protecting your energy, and honoring your standards. And that is not weakness. That is restraint. That is wisdom. That is freedom. Because when you can sit with discomfort, without lashing out, without retreating into performance, you begin to master something most people never do: yourself. So next time someone's silence feels like a weapon, don't fight back. Don't mirror the immaturity. Don't break your peace just to break the tension. Instead, respond with quiet strength. Let your silence reflect not coldness, but clarity, not withdrawal, but elevation, not apathy, but inner power. And in that silence, you'll hear something far more important than their reaction. You'll hear your own voice, finally unshaken, finally clear. That's the Stoic way. Chapter 11. Don't beg for attention. There's a moment after someone pulls away, after the silence stretches longer than you expected, when your mind whispers, "Do something, say something, get them to care." That's the trap. But the Stoic doesn't chase echoes. He listens to silence and finds power in it. Don't beg for attention. Not when you're ignored. Not when you feel unseen. Especially not when you feel unworthy. Because your value, your real, unshakable worth is not something granted by others. It's something you decide. Something you claim. The moment you start performing for someone who has turned their back, you shrink. You abandon yourself. You move from self-respect to self-neglect just to hold someone's gaze a second longer. And for what? Attention is not love. It's not loyalty. And most of all, it's not validation. Stoicism teaches us that our emotional stability must be rooted in what we control. And what you can control is this: the direction of your energy, the strength of your boundaries, the integrity of your path. So if someone turns away, let them. Don't talk louder hoping they'll hear. Talk clearer so you can hear yourself. This is not coldness, it's clarity. Instead of fighting for their attention, fight for your focus. Pour your time into building something that matters to you. Whether it's your craft, your health, your art, your inner peace, it all adds to your character. And nothing is more attractive than someone completely immersed in their own evolution. It's tempting to prove your worth through performance. But high-value men, true Stoics, don't broadcast to be noticed. They build to become undeniable. Think of a man who's been left on red, dismissed by someone he cared for. He doesn't fire off one last message, trying to make them care. No. He closes the app, closes the loop in his mind, and opens a new chapter in his story. Not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom, because he knows this truth. Any connection that requires begging isn't a connection worth keeping. Begging for attention is a form of self-betrayal. It tells the world and yourself that someone else's recognition is more important than your own. So instead, shift your attention inward. Ask yourself, am I living a life that makes me proud? Am I showing up for my goals the way I wish others would show up for me? Am I giving myself the approval I keep seeking from others? Let your life answer those questions. Let your actions do the talking. Let your joy, your discipline, your peace speak volumes while their silence fades into irrelevance. And here's what happens next. You begin to detach not just from their attention, but from the need for it. You wake up one morning and realize you no longer care who's watching because you're not performing. You're becoming. That's the Stoic shift from craving attention to commanding your own attention. From trying to matter to others to mattering deeply to yourself. This is where real self-respect is forged, not in the spotlight, but in solitude. Not in applause, but in quiet progress. And the man who no longer begs for attention becomes the man no one can ignore. Chapter 12. Be kind, but emotionally distant to blank. There's a quiet power in the man who smiles without needing a response, who offers kindness not as a plea for connection, but as a reflection of who he is. Be kind, but remain emotionally distant. That's the Stoic way. Because when someone ignores you, it's easy to fall into two extremes, either shutting down completely or overextending, hoping to win their attention back. But Stoicism teaches a third path. Respond with calm strength. Greet the world with warmth, but hold your center with discipline. That means offering a simple good morning to someone who once ghosted you, without bitterness. It means holding the door open for someone who overlooked you, not for praise, but because your values remain intact. Kindness is not submission. It's not weakness. And it certainly isn't a backdoor attempt to be accepted. It's a choice, a reflection of your character, not a reaction to their behavior. But here's the key. Don't attach emotion to the outcome. You can be kind without opening the gates of your inner world. You can wish someone well without secretly hoping they'll finally see your worth. You can show grace without giving away your peace. That's what it means to be emotionally distant. Emotional distance doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It means you've stopped depending. You've drawn a line between who you are and how others behave. And that boundary protects something sacred, your inner stability. Think of it like this. You're walking through a garden. Someone throws thorns your way. You don't chase them. You don't throw thorns back. You simply adjust your path, remain grounded, and keep walking gracefully. That's what Stoic strength looks like. Unbothered, unshaken, undeterred. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And in this case, the best response to indifference isn't coldness or withdrawal, it's to remain yourself. Strong, gracious, but emotionally contained. So what does this look like in real life? You respond to a cold coworker with courtesy, not to win them over, but because you uphold your own standards. You message someone once to check in, and if they don't reply, you move on it with resentment, but with respect for your time. You offer help or support to someone going through difficulty without tying your identity to their recognition or gratitude. That's emotional maturity. And ironically, this combination of kindness without neediness is what draws people in, because it shows you're centered, you're whole. You don't need chaos to feel alive or drama to feel significant. You're here to give and not to be drained, to connect, not to cling, to serve and not to surrender. And yes, it may confuse people. Some will expect your kindness to be a form of submission. Some will push boundaries to see how far your warmth goes. That's when emotional distance becomes your shield. You stay polite, but you don't explain. You stay present, but you don't overextend. Why? Because you know that your peace is not up for negotiation. This isn't about proving anything. It's about preserving something you. So the next time someone ignores you, or treats your presence like background noise, don't retreat into cold silence and don't chase validation. Simply nod, offer respect, then walk on with your dignity intact, your peace unshaken, and your power completely your own. Chapter 13. Don't reveal your struggle. When life hits you hard, there's a natural urge to show it, to vent, to explain, to let the world see your pain, your frustration, your disappointment. And on some level, it makes sense. We all want to be seen. We want our struggles acknowledged. But Stoicism offers a different kind of power, the kind that doesn't ask to be witnessed. Don't reveal your struggle, not because you're faking strength, but because you've cultivated something deeper inner composure. Let's be clear, this isn't about suppression. Stoicism never told us to pretend emotions don't exist. It told us to master them, to feel every sting, every disappointment, every tight breath in your chest and still choose calm. Because your pain isn't what defines you. Your response to it does. So when you're rejected, when someone turns away, when things fall apart, resist the urge to broadcast your suffering. You don't owe the world your emotional proof. You owe yourself stability. Why is this so important? Because vulnerability, when shared without intention, becomes exposure, and exposure without protection often leads to misunderstanding, pity, or worse, manipulation. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your private battles, and not everyone will honor them if you offer it. So choose wisely. Move forward with the same poise you had before the rejection. Keep showing up, keep working, keep laughing when you can. Not to prove anything to them, but to remind yourself that you are not defined by this moment. Your life is bigger than one disappointment. When you walk with quiet resolve, people may think you're unaffected. Let them. That illusion isn't weakness, it's control. Because behind that stillness is someone who's felt deeply, reflected fully, and chosen action over chaos. That's the kind of resilience that Stoicism teaches. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of I tanned this, you have the power to revoke at any moment." So revoke it, not by pretending it didn't hurt, but by choosing not to let that pain dictate how you move. There's power in mystery. There's dignity in silence. And there's undeniable strength in being the man who does not collapse when he could, who does not complain when it would be easy, who carries the weight quietly not because he has to but because he can. Here's the test. Can you be crumbling inside, yet still show up with integrity? Can you feel the weight of disappointment without letting it make you bitter? Can you sit with sadness and still choose purpose? Because if you can, you're already free. Not showing your struggle isn't about putting on a mask. It's about maintaining a boundary between the storm within and the world outside, between the emotions that visit you and the identity you build every day. And that boundary is sacred. So the next time you want to post your frustration, explain your hurt, or make someone see what they've caused, pause. Ask yourself, is this for healing or for validation? If it's the latter, walk away. Choose stillness instead. Because stillness isn't silence, it's strength. The kind of strength that doesn't demand attention. The kind that changes lives quietly. Strength in adversity. Every rejection you face, every cold silence you endure, every moment someone turns away from you, these are not roadblocks. They are refining fires. And if you carry them with the right perspective, they become stepping stones not to bitterness, but to resilience. This is what Stoicism teaches us, not to avoid pain, but to master our response to it, not to become numb, But to become clear, rejection doesn't shrink the strong. It reveals them. So here's the challenge, Don. Let these lessons stay on the screen. Apply them. Let them sink into your daily life. The next time someone ignores you, don't chase. Breathe. Choose stillness. The next time you feel unseen, remind yourself, I walk with purpose, not permission. Because you weren't built to be defined by applause. You were built to carry dignity in silence, to radiate value without asking for recognition, to turn your pain into power and your solitude into strength. And when you do this, not just once, but again and again, when you stand tall in moments that used to crush you, that's when you realize you've already won. Now, if you made it this far, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Share your story, your breakthroughs, your struggles, even just a single insight that shifted something in you. Or, if you don't know what to say, just type "strength in adversity." That'll be our quiet signal, a way of saying, I was here, I faced it, and I chose to rise. If this video gave you something to reflect on, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who might need a reminder of their power. Someone who's been through silence and needs to hear that they're not alone. And if you're walking this path of stillness and strength, I see you. I honor your journey. Keep going. Now subscribe, hit the bell, and join us again for the next lesson. Until then, walk with purpose, speak with intention, and never let the noise of the world drown out the strength that already lives in you. Epilogue. Stay stoic. Every comment, every moment of reflection you share, that's what fuels this space. This isn't just a channel, it's a brotherhood. A quiet fellowship built on wisdom, inner power, and the courage to face life without flinching. Because in this space, we don't run from adversity. We turn it into fuel. We don't chase attention. We cultivate presence. And we don't break when the world turns silent. We rise quietly, stronger. So stay with us, stay grounded, and most of all, stay stoic.